1,000 years ago, long before cranes, modern engineering, or computer calculations existed, a group of builders in South India did something that still confuses engineers today. They built a temple tower over 200 feet tall, and then they placed an 80-ton block of granite on its very top. No machines, no steel, no modern tools, just human hands. Even today, historians still ask the same question. How did they do it? In the heart of Tamil Nadu stands one of the greatest architectural wonders ever built, the Brihadeeswarar Temple. At first glance, it looks like a magnificent ancient temple carved from stone. But when you look closer, it becomes something else. A puzzle, a mystery hidden in plain sight. The temple tower, known as the Vimana, rises about 66 meters into the sky. Layer after layer of perfectly carved granite blocks form a pyramid that seems to defy gravity. And at the very top sits a massive capstone, a single granite block weighing nearly 80 tons. To understand how strange this is, imagine lifting 10 fully loaded trucks and placing them on top of a 13-story stone tower. Now imagine doing it 1,000 years ago, without cranes, without engines, without modern engineering knowledge. Yet somehow it was done. The Brihadeeswarar Temple was built during the reign of one of the most powerful kings in South Indian history, Raja Chola I, in the early 11th century. The Chola Empire ruled vast parts of India and Southeast Asia. They were masters of art, architecture, and naval power. But even for such a powerful empire, the construction of this temple seems almost impossible. Because the temple is not built from ordinary stone. It is built almost entirely from granite. Granite is extremely heavy, extremely difficult to carve, and even harder to transport. Here is where the mystery deepens. The region around the temple has almost no natural granite deposits, which means the stone had to be transported from far away. Some researchers believe the granite was brought from quarries more than 50 kilometers away. Imagine moving thousands of tons of granite across ancient landscapes without trucks or roads. Only wooden rollers, elephants, and human strength. And yet the builders did not simply stack the stones. They engineered something far more sophisticated. The entire tower is built with incredible precision. Each block interlocks perfectly with the others. No cement, no binding material, just weight, balance, and geometry. Even after 1,000 years of earthquakes, storms, and erosion, the structure remains standing almost perfectly aligned. But the greatest mystery still sits at the very top, the capstone, known as the kumbum, an 80-ton granite block placed at the summit of the tower. For centuries, people have debated how it was lifted, because lifting something that heavy to a height of more than 60 meters is not simple even today. One of the most widely accepted theories involves a massive ramp. Some historians believe the builders constructed a long inclined ramp made of packed earth and stone. The ramp may have stretched for nearly 6 kilometers, starting from the ground far away and slowly rising until it reached the top of the tower. The granite block would then be pulled upward using ropes, wooden rollers, and possibly elephants, slowly, carefully, step by step, until it finally reached the summit. But even this explanation raises more questions. A ramp 6 kilometers long would require enormous planning, huge amounts of labor, and perfect coordination, thousands of workers pulling in sync, engineers calculating weight and balance without modern mathematics, and a structure that could support the movement of an 80-ton stone. Yet there is very little physical evidence of such a ramp today. Some historians suggest the ramp may have been dismantled after construction. Others believe erosion may have erased its traces, but the mystery remains. And there is something even more strange. Many visitors notice something unusual about the tower. Its shadow. Local legends claim that the temple tower never casts a shadow on the ground at noon. At first, this sounds impossible. After all, every object under sunlight must cast a shadow. But what people really observe is more subtle. Because of the steep pyramid shape and the position of the sun during certain times of the year, the shadow falls almost perfectly within the base of the structure itself, creating the illusion that the tower has no shadow. For ancient builders to design something that interacts with sunlight in such a precise way suggests a deep understanding of astronomy. And this is not the only example. Throughout the temple complex, sculptures and alignments appear to reflect cosmic symbolism. The entire structure seems designed not just as a building, but as a representation of the universe. In ancient Indian philosophy, temples were not simply places of worship. They were models of cosmic order. The tower represented Mount Meru, the mythical center of the universe. The rising levels symbolized spiritual ascent, and the capstone represented the ultimate point of connection between earth and the divine. But there is another detail that fascinates researchers: the scale of precision in the carvings. The walls of the temple are covered with inscriptions, thousands of lines carved into granite. These inscriptions record donations, rituals, and administrative details of the Chola Empire. But they also reveal something extraordinary: the level of organization behind the temple's construction. Records describe teams of architects, sculptors, dancers, musicians, and administrators connected to the temple. This was not just a religious site. It was a cultural powerhouse, a center of art, science, and social life, which suggests the builders were not simply laborers. They were highly skilled engineers, masters of geometry, astronomy, and architecture. And yet, even with this knowledge, some parts of the temple remain unexplained. For example, the precision with which the granite blocks are cut and fitted together. Even modern engineers studying the structure struggle to replicate such accuracy using traditional tools. Some joints are so tight that not even a thin blade can slide between them. This raises an interesting question. Did ancient builders possess techniques that were later lost? Or did they simply have patience and skill that modern construction rarely uses? Another strange detail is the sheer scale of planning. The temple was completed in just about 7 years. 7 years to quarry, transport, carve, and assemble tens of thousands of tons of granite. Even today, a project of this scale would require massive machinery and years of logistical planning. Yet 1,000 years ago, it was completed with remarkable speed. Some historians believe this was possible because the Chola Empire had enormous resources, thousands of workers, strong centralized authority, and a deep cultural motivation to build something that would last forever. But others think there may be more to the story, because sometimes history hides knowledge in plain sight. Ancient civilizations often understood physics, geometry, and astronomy through observation and tradition rather than formal equations. Their knowledge was practical, tested through generations, passed from master to apprentice. And when those traditions disappeared, the techniques vanished with them. So perhaps the mystery is not that the temple was built. Perhaps the real mystery is why we lost the knowledge to build like this again. Today, the Brihadeeswarar Temple stands exactly where it did 1,000 years ago. Its tower still rising into the sky, its granite walls still whispering stories from the past, and its massive capstone still resting at the very top, unmoved, unshaken, a silent reminder of human ambition. Every year, thousands of visitors walk through its gates. They admire the carvings. They photograph the towering structure. But few stop to ask the deeper question: what kind of minds designed this? What kind of civilization could organize such a project without modern technology? And what knowledge might still be hidden inside ancient architecture around the world? Because the Brihadeeswarar Temple is not just a monument. It is a message from the past. A message carved in stone. A message that tells us something powerful. Human potential is far greater than we often imagine. But here is the most fascinating thought of all. What if the builders of this temple were not trying to impress future generations? What if they simply believed this level of precision and beauty was normal? What if this was just another project in a civilization that understood engineering and cosmic symbolism in ways we barely recognize today? If that is true, then the Brihadeeswarar Temple is not just a mystery. It is a clue. A clue that ancient knowledge may have been far more advanced than we assume. And perhaps we are only beginning to rediscover it. So the next time you see the towering Vimana of Brihadeeswarar Temple reaching into the sky, look at the massive stone resting on its summit, 80 tons of granite, placed there 1,000 years ago, without cranes, without machines, without modern engineering. And ask yourself this: was it simply human brilliance, or are we still missing a piece of the story?